Hi, it's Michael. So the topic for this week is verbs or navigation. Last week we talked about taxonomies or classifications. And I think I could get some feedback from you maybe toward the end of the course. It seemed like this week actually was a bit of a stretch, which is interesting. I don't know that this week has ever had kind of this much back and forth, but as you see the way the course goes, there's a lot of work needed early to understand whether or not we're on the right track or we're solving the right problems. And perhaps one of the issues here was there is a lot to go through this week. Taxonomies are a big topic. In a way, I try to tease this topic out early on when you're choosing your data to make sure you understand, are there ways already in your data to classify it? And when it comes to, even though many of you have the same topic, it seems as though sharing classification systems would be easy and fine to do. But even then, there's a lot of difference. And that means there is no real answer to these questions, which might be problematic, might cause a lot of misunderstanding. So we talked, I think, in a little bit about books using the Dewey Decimal System. Well, the thing is probably nobody, including me, I guess, maybe some people, understand the Dewey Decimal System. It was a system that somebody created to solve a particular problem. Does not necessarily mean it's relevant to how today we use and find books. So that part of this experiment is to go and look and to use your own critical thinking to decide what are the right things to use that can be helpful to either use in an interface that we're going to get to fairly soon. One thought also is there's a lot of examples that you guys do. There's a lot of mentioning of like etc. I'm going to say the real goal of this week is to tell me exactly how many there are, because in a fairly short amount of time, you're going to have some issues. For one, any kind of filtering on a yes/no question, like is it open or closed? Well, those are very brittle filters, so to speak, right? They're dependent upon a lot of ideas that might, again, not be really part of information architecture per se. So yes, those kind of things seem powerful, but actually they're not. I'll just let you know because they are so brittle. Tagging interfaces, so using one or more descriptive pieces of text, and especially if those text pieces are extremely unique, is very powerful because computers are, well, this week might have given you a hint of why did they invent hashtags in Twitter, and they did it to have a unique looking word, even if the word itself is not very unique. So hashtag party is a different word than party. Even though technically they mean the same thing, you're able to kind of invent words, which makes them easier to find for a computer. So when you're looking up here, these are words that a computer would recognize and match to a search. And that means the more specific, the better. The more generic, the less worthwhile it is, because it could mean almost anything. As you looked in how are they organized, certainly most things, people love organizing things as humans. They love naming things. It's all really good. Look at the stars above, everyone has been named pretty much because people like naming. They like naming schemes. We love grouping, so we created constellations. See what I mean? These are all things that we've done. So just researching that was a big part of today. The trick in the next steps is, of course, if you have a field like a location, you'll need some sort of search mechanism because there are just too many of them. What you're really looking for and hoping for, and it's going to be a big deal this week, is a limited set of choices. And that could be, a good example might be clothes. They have small, medium, large, extra large, something like that. Those make things really easy to group, those concepts of size. Are those concepts helpful? Maybe not, right? Maybe a more numeric thing is easier, but certainly one is actually a lot more useful when it comes to grouping large amounts of different kinds of clothing items. And so we'll see a lot of that come up this week. So let's get to it. Week 6, verbs. The reason I call this verbs is nouns tend to describe the thing itself. What is it your data is about? For example, we'll go into a book. A book is a thing, it's an object. It has a lot of characteristics that describe that book. Verbs, however, are more about the layer that we're going to create as an IA called navigation, which is how do you get around this topic? And this has a lot of rules about navigation, so please read up on them. There's a few helpful things about what navigation means. There's also some visual work that we're going to do this week. So you're going to look here. One of the exercises here is to give an example from a site of some of these different navigation styles. So if you want to, you'll just say, hey, this particular site uses this particular style, and we're going to try to get through all of these. So pick one and do not repeat another. So if you can, just go ahead and say which one you're doing. And then you're going to build a sitemap around your content. So I have one here, is I've decided that smell is one way you can navigate my topic. And here's some examples, exact examples of what those are. And then using these, you'll get results from the database. Now, if you go over here, here is again, probably what I was warning against, is it natural or man-made? This is a little bit narrower, but it still kind of gets you to the point, and sometimes those big picture things are actually helpful. People want something near them, for example, rather than looking for restaurants in another place. So, proximity and things like that, or again, some sort of binary choice, not terrible, but these are just two different ways to navigate the same thing. And of course, there's like, do you know exactly what you want situation. As an example, this is an example sitemap, and you can see at the top you want, there's some rules here. We were also going to draw this on a piece of paper, use post-it notes, try to do this in the most iterative way possible, because as usual, if you post, I'll try to give some ideas and maybe push you a little forward with some things, or however I do it, it's there to help you move your thought process forward with hopefully the appropriate amount of effort. So that's this week, week 6, we're starting navigation. In the next 2 weeks, we're going to be depicting this navigation. We're going to actually show what our records look like, thinking about that HTML structure and what it actually renders like, and putting this all into some sort of a scenario of how and why things are positioned in particular ways, or there's a certain hierarchy to the way these things work. So it'll be another 2 weeks before our deliverable. But each piece here is going to come into play in the deliverable, so you'll have a screenshot of this. Or if you wish, Figma comes into play now too. If you want to start an account there and build your sitemap there, that's fine. It's just a drawing tool where you can share. So good luck